I call this Delta Township Board meeting to order. All those attending, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Treasurer Vito, would you please call attendance?
Yes, Madam Clerk. Supervisor Fletcher. Here. Clerk Clark.
Present.
Treasurer Fito was here. Trustee Bowen.
Present.
Trustee Brewer. Trustee Cascarella.
Present.
Trustee Mohica.
Here.
And we have a quorum, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Motion to excuse Supervisor Fletcher and Trustee Bowen, please.
So
Or,
moved.
excuse me, Brewer.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to excuse Supervisor Fletcher and Trustee Brewer. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Motion to set or adjust the agenda. What's your pleasure? Andrea,
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
is there support?
Support.
It's been moved and supported to set the agenda as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Manager Reed, would you like to address the St. George Festival North Waiver?
Sure. Would you like to open the public hearing? The St. George Festival, it's an annual event that they have. Typically, games, I don't think that there's a lot of activity outside, but usually have a noise ordinance waiver, so.
Did they have this last year?
No,
They did not. I didn't think they did. Neither the
for the last 2 years.
upcoming Oldsmobile Homecoming Car Show neither, right? They didn't have that last year.
Correct.
Right, all right, so this is a public hearing. Is there anybody who's going to testify?
Well, I'm about to find out, so that's why I'm asking. Brian, if there's any other comments, and then if there's anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this issue, please come to the mic. Seeing none.
We've had no correspondence regarding this issue from anybody in the public.
Okay, and Trustee Cascarella,
I was going to make a motion, but
that's fine.
I move that the Delta Township Board approve the request by St. Gerard Church for a waiver of the noise ordinance between the hours of 12 p.m. and 11:30 p.m. on May 7th, 2022.
Is there support?
Support.
It's been moved and supported to, approve the noise waiver, and I will go on record both, and Trustee Cascarella and I are members of St. Gerard, but it does not prove to be a conflict. Any other comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. And we'll open the public hearing also for the Oldsmobile Homecoming Car Show. Manager Reed, do you want to start us?
Sure, and we do have somebody here representing the Oldsmobile Homecoming Car Show. This is something that they have held in the past to great success in the auto owners insurance parking lot. To my knowledge, we have not received any correspondence from any of the neighbors. But we do have a gentleman here from the two people here from the Oldsmobile Car Show.
Would you like to speak? If you would like to speak, you can go to the podium, please.
I have nothing to say. We've been here before and been approved.
And just for the benefit of others and those watching from home, residents in a radius are always notified of the noise waivers. So everyone in the near vicinity of both St. Gerard and auto owners have been made aware of the noise waivers. Any comments from the board? Andrea?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure we're clear on the record. There was email correspondence from one resident regarding the noise waiver. And they were an objection, but just wanted to make sure we were clear on that, because I don't, it's in
okay.
our packet.
Oh.
So I just wanted to make sure we were clear. There was a resident that did respond. Just so we weren't.
Yeah, sorry, there is
Yeah.
one in the packet. I had meant there was no additional correspondence that I was
Sorry,
aware
yeah.
of. Yeah, no, thank you for clarifying that.
All right.
Any other comments?
Well, I have a question of
Yes.
our representatives. Will the music be going on for 8 hours straight? Or is it confined to like a certain time period within the show? Is it turned up and down?
It does. I'm Randy Pratt. I'm the sound guy who makes that happen.
Wonderful.
I do everything I can do. We have towers at the north and south end of the lot, and the speakers are essentially pointed away from the condos. So what they get, they're halfway in the parking lot, they're getting the back sound from the speakers. So I think I walk the perimeter. Too loud is one of the things I really don't want to be. But yes, they kind of start at 9 and it goes till 3 in the hereafter because there's music, yes, and then there's auctions and tattoo judging and all sorts of side activities that are mixed in. So the music maybe isn't continuous, but there's kind of continuous sound.
I don't think we've ever
Thank you.
heard of any complaints over any of these events.
Yeah, I really listened, and I don't think we've had any
Yeah.
really.
Because you're pretty isolated over there.
Yeah, and again, I point stuff away from the neighbors, so.
Yeah. It's a nice event.
Yeah, could just be the vibrations too.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
Thank you.
okay.
Any other comments? A motion?
Um,
Trustee Mahika?
I move that the Delta Township Board approve the request by the Oldsmobile Homecoming Car Show for a waiver of the noise ordinance between the hours of 8 AM and 4 PM on June 18th, 2022.
Is there support?
Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve the Oldsmobile Homecoming Car Show noise waiver. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Is there anyone in the audience that has public comment for items not on the agenda tonight? If so, please approach the podium. Seeing none. Consent agenda is before you. Is there a motion to approve?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Support.
Would you please call the roll? Treasurer Fedora.
Thank you. Trustee Bowman,
Yes.
trustee Cascarella,
Yes.
trustee Brewer, trustee Mohica,
Yes.
treasurer Fedor is yes, clerk Clark,
Yes,
supervisor Fletcher is absent. You have passage with 5 votes, Madam Clerk.
thank you. Motion carries. We're down to new items of business. I don't know. Our manager reader, are you starting or is Ernie?
I can start,
Okay.
Madam Clerk. Thank you very much. This, I guess tonight is kind of the culmination of a 3 or 4 year process. And a lot of hard work by our engineering and utility department and a lot of other staff involved with this project. So I know a lot of this is review, but we have a lot packed into the overall memo, kind of packaged a lot of things together that are needed for the project. But we have, with that being said, I'll have Ernie talk about the value engineering process that we've undertaken over the last month with the direction from the board. We also have Brent Bode from Tetra Tech here to help answer any questions. Courtney can also answer any questions regarding any of the financial questions. We also have Representative Bobby Benzinski and some representatives from Benzinski and Miller Canfield here on the legal side. So with that being said, I'll turn it over to Ernie to walk us through the engineering part.
Thank you, Brian. Madam Clerk, board members, appreciate your time tonight. Just a couple of weeks ago, we were before you with kind of the bid results. And of course, the bids were much higher than we had hoped for. And we had a nice discussion, a good discussion, very informative for staff in terms of where your heads are at in terms of wanting to move forward and look at some different value engineering, value proposals. And so in the time since then, we've done that. We've worked with our two lowest bidders, who are with fairly close tolerance of each other on bid day. And we actually presented them with 17 items that our team identified for possible savings. And then they were also given the opportunity to submit additional items that we did not identify. And so we took those prices and received those last week before last, and met with our team to review all of those. And we really looked through them in terms of what was going to give us some value, but would not necessarily hurt the process, hurt the function of the plant long-term, short-term energy savings, any of those. So we tried to look at it as really value and not just cost savings. Item 2 or page 2 tabulates those items. So the 17 that we took, there was only about 8 that we as a team decided to accept. And so they result in, between the two bidders, between $700,000 and $860,000 of savings. So not a lot in terms of the overall scope of the project in terms of savings. But I would say that staff and the team felt like it was a good exercise, because that time that we took to kind of dig into their proposals, vet them, make sure we weren't missing anything, we felt like that paid off. Like they gave us a good sense of confidence and due diligence going into such a large project that, we'd made the right calls through the design process. And I think the way it played out is, to me at least, it reflects, our careful decision-making through that 3 or 4 years of planning and design. So, so with that, one other thing to know is we did listen to board feedback in terms of, kicking stuff down the road that would just have to be done later. And after careful consideration, we are coming back and recommending not to remove the grit building from the project. That was one of the deductive alternates that would save about $3.5 million for now, but then would turn around and cost more in a few years. And so given that, and then the operational concerns, if we have a breakdown in our current system between now and then, it just didn't seem to make sense. So we are recommending moving forward without pulling that out of the project. So the project will include the grit building. So when you go through the numbers, Commercial Contracting Corporation still is a low bidder. A reduced amount of $73,076,682. And so, that's the low bid amount. Granger is slightly more, 300,000, some more. But we did a full vetting of both contractors as part of our evaluation too. We conducted post-bid interviews with both. Brent Bode has had extensive conversation with both bidders, really vetting out their proposals to make sure they were inclusive of everything they needed to include to have a successful project. So Tetra Tech has actually given us a recommendation for proceeding with Commercial Contracting Corporation, and staff agree with that. Our analysis, we ended up with the same decision. One of the things that Tetra Tech doesn't note that staff had concerns with is there were some objections to our contract terms that were in the contract documents proposed by our attorney that Granger had taken exception to, and really wanted to try to open up some negotiation of those terms. We did not have that case with CCC. They were asked and indicated they would accept the contract terms as presented. So that was kind of another, I guess, point, if you would, towards our recommendation for commercial contracting. So tonight, if the board would like to proceed with our recommendation, there's a motion, a required resolution for tentative award. And the reason that's a tentative award is because We still are subject to the SRF program and getting to loan closing. So this award will let them know that they've been chosen, lets the state know that we wish to proceed with the project, but stop short of signing the contract until everything's in order for the funds to be in place from the state. We would also recommend accepting the items shown for the value proposal items, and those would be incorporated by a change order. So they would be awarded a contract based on their base bid, and then we do a change order upon signing the contract that would reduce the contract by those amounts.
That means the 8, I think there are 8 items that you took those.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep, those would be
change order.
incorporated into the contract by change order.
thank you.
So if you wish to proceed, there's also some other contracts we need to modify or to execute that are ancillary to the main construction contract with CCC, and that's Tetra Tech's construction phase services and SMEs. Those are geotechnical and soil and materials testing services. So those are in your packet as well. And then as Brian kind of alluded to, there's some financial and legal services that go along with this in terms of getting us through the financing portion of that. So that's really what I really wanted to hit on today, was just kind of let you know how things came out from that value proposal process. The rest is, I think, pretty well laid out in your packet, and we can certainly answer any questions. At the end of the memo, you'll see all the different motions we'll need to consider that all need to be kind of pulled together as one action for the project to move forward.
It's presented as one motion, so
Right.
let's do this. Let's just take them in pieces. Does anyone have any questions of Ernie regarding what he's just discussed in terms of the changes to the contract?
Not to the changes, but I did have a question regarding the objections of Granger. Not to get specific in the contract language, but I would assume that what our attorney had recommended in that wasn't necessarily out of the ordinary if it was recommended by our attorney. So I was kind of surprised in the memo that Granger would object, to that.
Yeah, so Granger indicated they wanted to use kind of an unmodified engineers joint counsel, which is a standard construction set of contract documents. They wanted to use an unmodified version. Our attorney had modified it, to be more representative of Michigan law, because it is kind of a national contract. So there's some things that don't apply in Michigan, or Michigan does things differently. So they've gone through and marked that up. We've done that on time and time again on our projects for our kind of our standard front end general conditions. Mount Hope Park, any of our larger projects, we utilize these. Thrun indicated they were surprised at the level of pushback from Granger on this, that they shouldn't be surprised to see a modified document. We didn't have a lot of discussion back and forth with Granger, but they did multiple times indicated that they had concerns and did not want to sign it as presented.
All right, thank you.
Any other, Andrea?
I don't know, Ernie, if you're able to answer this, or Courtney, I don't know if someone else is able to, but I know in our report that was provided, it talked about the adjustment to the rate increase based on the new figure. And I know in the past, when we were looking at the 7.25% figure for the annual rate increases, we had a kind of a figure of what that average increase a month or a year would be for a resident. Do we have something similar for the 9%? Just kind of put that in context of what that.
I'll let Courtney address that.
Thank you.
Can you reference the page you're referring to?
Yeah, it is on page 4. Yeah, it's mentioned in the first paragraph under user cost impact.
Yeah, so for the whole, to basically to fund the first phase of the project, let me just pull this up so I'm not. I can give it to you. I know it for the whole project, but not each year.
And then my other related question to that is when does that increase begin? Is it this year? Is it immediate? Is it
Sure.
when the SRF, we get those?
So
levels?
technically, the increases began several years ago
Right.
when the board started doing the 7.25s. I think this is our second or third year of them, because knowing this was coming, it's been ramping up, which is good.
So that's
So
just
we will
going
keep,
forward?
right now, the plan is just to keep doing them at the beginning of the January one. If the board wanted to consider, a mid-year increase, that's stuff we could talk about, but for right now, everything is based on January one, continuing annual. So basically, from my estimates, we would be able to get up to full funding for phase one by 2026. And that's $12 more a month.
Okay.
For an average person. And then it will take us till about 2029 to get up for the funding for phase two, and that's about another $12 a month. So that kind of gives you an idea, but that's spread out over quite a few years.
The $12 a month, is that each year?
Total.
Total.
For the
Thank you
first
for
phase,
clarifying
yeah.
that.
And
So through
then it
those
would
years.
be, yeah.
So you're
over the
saying
next-
2026, you think that will be $12?
Correct. So like right now, the average bill, is $30.33, which is using 700 cubic feet. So the estimate is that in 2026, that would be $42.81 or $12 more, but it's gonna take till 2026,
It'll
the
incrementally
9%,
get to
exactly.
that.
And then in another 4 years after that, it would be up to 55.44. Which actually kind of puts it in line more with a Lansing, East Lansing, and would still be less than their rates now. In 2029, so,
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. I
but yeah, we
appreciate
would
that
stay gradual,
context.
and that does include an estimate for the battery plant revenue. But it does not include any other growth, like that is literally keeping consumption flat to be very conservative.
Sure.
I have another question. I remember when we talked about this a month ago, Ernie, you talked about the two bids, the two lowest bids, they were basically using all the same subcontractors. But I don't think that we got asked or got an answer on whether those would be using local workers, if they'd be using union workers. Do we have anything in the contract for, preferring local Delta Township people to work on our plant?
Yeah, so as far as local preference, there is no local preference allowed through the SRF project that I'm aware of. So that's, our hands are kind of tied there. Superior Electric, the electrical contractor, is a Lansing-based company. Hoffman Brothers, I believe, is another major subcontractor. Right there, Jackson. I think a Jackson area company. Allied Mechanical Services is Grand Rapids based. CCC is Auburn Hills, yet they do a lot of their own concrete work. I'm not sure if they're going to pull labor out of the Lansing market or out of the Detroit market. I would say the vast majority of the entities that we're aware of are union-based companies. Allied Mechanical, I believe, has a portion of their company that is not union, maybe the pipe fitters, but the sheet metal workers are, I believe, is what we understand. So there's kind of a mix. We don't know all the subcontractors, just the major ones. But again, they were consistent between Granger and CCC.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I can't imagine they would haul concrete from southeast Michigan up to this project. I would assume they would buy something closer.
Oh, no, I wouldn't be referring to actually providing the concrete. It'd be the carpenters that were
Okay.
putting the forms together. And yeah.
That'd be a heavy load.
Yeah,
No,
no, they'll be coming out of a local concrete plant.
Right, thank you.
Okay.
Supervisor Fletcher, I'm ready to make a motion.
Does anybody have any questions? See a couple hands where you guys gonna make? Okay, go ahead. Motion is.
I move that the Delta Township Board accept the bid from Commercial Contracting Corporation and adopt the SRF resolution to tentatively award the construction contract for Phase 1 of the Water Resource Recovery Facility Major Capital Improvements Project, including in the amount of $73,776,000, contingent upon the Michigan Department of Environmental, Great Lakes and Energy order of approval. I further move that the Delta Township Board approve the proposed deduct change order number 1 with Commercial Contracting Corporation, reducing the contract amount by $699,318 to $73,076,682, and direct the township manager to sign and execute the change order contingent upon Eagle order of approval. I further move that the Delta Township Board approve the following proposed contracts and contract amendments for professional services for the project and authorize the township manager to sign and execute the necessary documents on behalf of the Delta Township contingent upon Eagle order of approval, being amendment number 2 of the agreement with Turda Tech and to provide professional engineering services at a cost not to exceed $2,265,500. Proposal from SME for geotechnical engineering services for soil materials testing in the amount of $178,750. A proposal from Ben Zinski and Company for financial advisor services in the amount of $57,000. And a proposal from Miller Canfield for legal services in the amount of $64,500. I further move that the Delta Township Board approve the bond authorizing ordinance and direct the township clerk to publish said ordinance as required by state law. And I further move that the township manager be authorized and directed to execute the necessary documents related to the aforementioned projects at the appropriate times.
Is there support?
Support.
There is support from Beth. Any additional discussion?
Just one technical. So this is a new amendment because it's a revenue bond amendment and it has to go through the public hearing process. Am I right or wrong on that?
No, Courtney can address that. I went through it with her today.
Yeah, so state law governs it. They call it, it's an ordinance, but it's really treated more like a resolution. So
Is
we
it?
don't have to go through the public hearing process again. It just has to be published in its entirety. So that will.
And I
be
noticed
quite
that
the
it
lengthy.
wasn't eligible for a public referendum as well. I thought I read that.
Right, we already did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did that with and thankfully at 90 million, because it was supposed to cover
Right,
phase
right.
1 and 2, but
Yeah.
so we did that, the 45-day referendum, that's all taken care
Right,
of.
okay.
Yeah, so
Thank
it
you.
will go in the paper, and then we mentioned that Eagle will republish the finding of no significant impact environmental assessment with the new rates and just updated project costs that will go, and that just gets posted on Eagle's website, and then we put it on our Facebook and website.
Right. Thank you, Courtney.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Treasurer Fedewa,
Yes.
Clerk Clark is yes. Trustee Bowen,
Yes.
Trustee Brewer, Trustee Cascarella,
Yes.
Trustee Mohica,
Yes.
Supervisor Fletcher.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk, and thank you all the work and everything that went into getting us to this point to approve this. We look forward to continuing this process for many years to come as it is built. We have moved down to item number 8 now, the fireworks permit and agreement. The Parks and Recreations Department recommends that the board approve the request for the July 3rd fireworks display. Andrea.
I move that the request for a fireworks display on July 3rd, 2022 with an agreed upon rain date, if needed, by Parks, Recreation and Cemeteries Commission be granted, subject to acceptable weather conditions and an on-site inspection on the day of the display by the fire chief or his designee. Further, that the township manager be authorized to sign the attached permit and agreement with Night Magic Displays.
Is there support?
Support.
There is support by Karen. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Managers report.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor, board members. Thank you very much for your support throughout the whole water resource recovery facility process. I know staff, or I speak for staff, we really appreciate the support throughout the years. It's definitely a lot of hard work that went into that. A couple items, just real quick, today the Eaton County Road Commission submitted their bridge application for the Webster Road Bridge. So I know we had talked about this back in March. So we will find out in the fall if they get funded for that. In the meantime, we met with the TAP program and DNR. So kind of started that process for trying to help figure out funding for a non-motorized component for that bridge when it gets rebuilt. So just to give you an update on that. A couple quick events, just a reminder, the Finance 101 event is Thursday, starting at 6 at the community center. Friday, we have a tour at 3 p.m. of the Xavier DeGroat Autism Museum. A couple hiring items. We have final interviews for the Human Resource Director tomorrow. Fire Department also completed their agility testing and written testing of candidates. So it did not weed out too many people. So we still have quite a large list to choose from. So I'll be working with the chiefs over the next couple weeks to hopefully get back up to full staffing here very soon.
Manager Reed, how many positions will that be? How many are we filling?
We have eight open
Eight?
positions.
Thank you.
Yep. And then the last piece of news is a really nice accomplishment for one of our employees. Courtney received her CPA certification this week. So very good accomplishment. I know she's worked on for a lot of years. So that's all I have, Mr. Supervisor, but happy to answer any questions.
Great, do folks have questions for Brian? No? Okay, great. Thanks.
Congratulations, Courtney.
Yes.
Wonderful.
We move to the item on the committee of the whole agenda, which is the planning department annual report. Gary Bozak. First of all, let me say I'm very happy to see you here.
Yes, welcome back.
I hope you are feeling back up to par there. We certainly have been worried and concerned recently for you.
I am doing better, thank you, and thank you for your support and prayers, and it meant a lot to me in my recovery, and I'm not 100%, but I'm getting there, so thanks again. Thanks to my staff, Dave Walagora and Matt McCurtain, taking care of the planning department while I was gone. They stepped up and kept the day-to-day operations going while I wasn't really able to contribute. So thanks again to them. Annual report, and I can just jump right in. It's kind of short and sweet. You'll see the 2021 activities in terms of enforcement, rezoning, special land use, pretty consistent over the last few years. We did have kind of an uptick in rezonings and special land use permit. Those are kind of driven by the Delta Crossings development. A lot of work has gone into making that development move forward. So milestones for the past year, of course, participating in the team in creation of the CIA district. Staff has helped with that. That's ongoing, of course. We took over the responsibilities for preparing the staff reports for the Sign Board of Appeals. We kind of took that off the building department's plate. We're there anyway for the Zoning Board of Appeals, so it didn't make sense to have two sets of staff people there. And so we took over that responsibility. Dave Walagora is a sign nut. And so he's provided training to the Sign Board of Appeals regarding content neutrality. That's a Supreme Court decision that says you can't define the ability to have a sign based on what it says, the bottom line. And so we haven't seen too many examples of that yet in the state of Michigan. We haven't been challenged yet, but it could happen. So we need to revisit the sign ordinance and make it content neutral. And so that's another project that we've been working on. We had one zoning ordinance amendment with regard to parking for large scale development like campuses like auto owner, industrial track. Our parking standards in the zoning ordinance had some limitations with regard to those uses and remove those. And so that helped us to move forward with a number of projects in the industrial district. A lot of work on Amazon, the fulfillment center site plan, a lot of work on Delta Crossings, that's ongoing. And Ann Swink retired after about 40 years here at the township. So we lost our administrative help. For 2022, we're looking at amending the sign ordinance, working to help Mary create the streetlight district, streamline that process somehow. There's some quirks that have come up, especially with Delta Crossings, about how to establish a streetlight district along public thoroughfares when it's not in a subdivision. We'll assist in doing that. Implement changes to the draft master plan that have been created by the adoption of the corridor improvement plan. So we have to incorporate what the CIA wants to accomplish into the master plan to make sure they're consistent. Years ago, we took our tax base maps and by hand when we had a draftsman. Every time we had a rezoning case or a special land use case or a zoning variance, we'd make a notation on the set of tax base maps. We stopped doing that about maybe 15 years ago. We want to kind of resurrect that. So my staff is working on a GIS version of that. And the main reason they know I'm going to retire sometime. And, I take a lot of institutional knowledge with me as far as histories of what's happened. So they're kind of they're planners, so they're planning for the future. So they want to develop this tool. So they don't have to call me at home every day.
Gary, I have a question on that because Dave Marquette in IT did a rooftop thing for us for redistricting.
Mhm.
And so what you're wanting to do is, what is that?
It's just another layer in the GIS where
Okay.
we'll tag a parcel. I don't know what we'll name it, but every time, so for the K2 property, for instance, we had several rezoning. So we'll put a little tag on there,
Okay.
AG2 to C1 or C1 to RM or whatever. So we can go back, future planners can go and pull up that layer when they get another case that may deal with the same property and see what the history is.
Perfect. Thank you.
More training for staff is on the horizon. I'm going to keep up to date with current best practices in the planning profession. GM, we expect that site plan to come in. That's a substantial plan that we'll be working on in conjunction with engineering and building. And so some way to make that go, we can expedite that as best possible. Plan to see that coming in within the next couple of weeks. They're doing their due diligence. They've got natural features inventory. They've got a wetland report. They've got a traffic study. They're working on all those. And so in order to present a complete package with their site plan, they'll be bringing all that documentation in to support their new project. And finally, monitoring the zoning ordinance because things change. We always have requests for new amendments. We find out things that aren't working in the zoning ordinance that need to be adjusted. So that's a big project. We've kind of put that on the back burner since I've been gone, but now we're going to take that up again. So any questions?
Dennis? Gary, as always, succinct and to the point, informative. Knowledgeable. We've missed you dearly, and it's a pleasure having you back.
Thank you, Dennis.
Other questions? Seeing none, covered it all well there.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody have anything else this evening? Yes, Beth?
I would like to suggest that at a committee of the whole in the future that we put, and I'm going to forget the name, Universal Development Agreement on the agenda again and discuss that for future projects, emphasizing our commitment to local labor and union labor.
Okay, sounds good. Anybody else? Any final public comment this evening? Oh, sure, go ahead.
Just noticed our law enforcement, have noticed our friends living on St. Joe and that row of duplexes between Farmstead and Snow Road are parking in their yards again. So I just wanted to bring that to attention. So they might need a little bit of reminder of what they're allowed to do and what they're not. I can tell you offline.
We have the same problem starting on the north side.
Do we?
They're parking. We ticketed them for a while and then,
That's what I'm talking about, those
They-
duplexes, yeah.
yeah, they're doing it on the north side too.
Are they?
So, I mean, we have to go other than 8 to 5 because they go to work. So when you drive by, there's a mud mess, but there's no vehicle. So they've got to be ticketed after work hours.
They stopped for a long time, but they're incrementally starting to.
As soon as one does it and
Yeah.
gets away with it, then the second one does it and the third one does it.
So just need a little reminder and pressure to that effect, so.
Final public comment? Seeing no one coming forward and seeing no further business before us, we are adjourned. Hold on for it.